Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Chasing Goals podcast, episode number 15. Super excited to be here with Hannah. How are we going, Hannah?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm great. It's great to have you on. I've just been scrolling through your Instagram and everything you're doing. But do you maybe want to kind of give a little bit of a rundown of what you do, your kind of career in the fitness industry, and what you're doing at the moment?
Yeah, I'll try and keep it as brief as possible. So I'll touch on the one little segment. There's a few little segments to me. So actually, I guess I'll start with like stats. I'm 26. 5'8". No. So I'm actually a cancer research specialist,
Oh,
day to
okay.
day.
Yep.
So, the whole 9 to 5 business. And I'm also a natural bodybuilder, competitive bodybuilder. I've been doing that since 2019. So last season that I competed, which was 2021, I won the WMBF British figure title.
Oh, congrats.
Um,
Whoop, whoop.
Thank you. Got invited to the Worlds, but due to just life circumstances,
Yeah.
I couldn't go. Back for redemption next year though. And then I also have my side. I used to call it a passion project
Yeah.
because I just started it for the love of it. Basically, long story short, I used to teach dance since I was 14, so I've danced since I was 3.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, taught dance since I was 14. I've like competed in multiple different styles across the UK. And then I started bodybuilding and I felt like there was a gap. There was a gap for posing coaches,
Yeah.
to be able for people to present their physique as best as possible on stage. And so I started helping friends. I actually did it for free for like a year.
Yeah.
And I didn't advertise it or anything. I was just like helping
Just
people.
just loved it.
And then
Love to do.
yeah, and then I was like, you know what? Like I love this. I really enjoy this. So I started putting more time into it, more effort. And it's now 2 years down the line and I'm loving it. Now I run obviously video calls face to face. I've got like a studio that I use whenever I want to use
Yeah.
it.
How good.
And I run workshops.
I saw you just had your first. I was just looking. You had your first group class. Is that right? Or one of the first ones you've had?
That was a pinned post.
Oh, okay. That's the issue. I've butchered it. How long ago was that?
That was a couple of months ago now. I think that was May or
Okay.
June.
And so, have you been doing that a bit more? The group?
Yeah, so I don't do them often because they do take, I think people think that I literally just hire the room and bish bash bosh. They take a hell of a lot of organization.
Yeah.
Also like I set things up basically. So the reason why I'm looking around is I've actually got like 30 goodie bags in front of me lying on the floor. It's a good job you can like hide things in a video call, can't you? Um so I've got a Christmas workshop coming up, which is actually on Saturday.
Yeah. Cool.
Um, and I've got 3 athletes coming to do posing demonstrations and seminars.
Yeah.
So someone who is like a first timer that absolutely smashed her first season that I
Yeah.
worked with from right at the beginning. So she's coming. And then I've got 2 professionals coming.
Yeah.
Um, so they'll do again posing demos and then have a bit of a Q&A back and forth, to just give the girls more of an insight. So I've got 3 classes running. I've got bikini beginner, figure beginner, and then figure advanced. And
Yep.
then yeah, I've got sick goodie bags. Unbelievable. I want to keep them. I'm alive.
You're like, oh yeah, I was going to give them out, but I've lost them.
Dog at them. It's dog at all of them. That's what it is.
Good with the with the posing, that sort of thing. So when you're like at a show and that sort of thing, is there a certain flow to how it all happens, or is it kind of what's the word, choreographed or whatever it's called? What's the word?
Choreographed. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. I'm not a dancer, obviously, or but can you? Yeah, is it something you can teach, or is there any kind of like free flowing stuff, or is it all? Yeah.
A bit of both, a bit of both. Yeah. So when you first go on stage, there's something called comparisons. So you'll line up with all the other athletes. Doesn't matter which category you are and things like that. You all line up and you do these turns, these poses called mandatories.
Yeah.
So just basically the compulsory poses that allow you to be compared fairly. And then some federations, they allow then like a muscle round, which could be like a hands above head round and things like that.
Cool.
Then usually what happens, you'll have either an eye walk or a routine. So an eye walk is, it's kind of, it makes sense once like someone explains it. You start at the back of the stage, you walk forwards, and you do
Yeah, okay.
poses. You know, it's an eye, you draw an eye. And then the routine is like a 60-second free flow,
Oh, cool.
but that's choreographed. Like you
Yeah.
wouldn't,
You
I don't know
wouldn't-
anyone that'd just be like, let's go.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess it'd be something. Is there something to? I was just thinking about like if you're kind of holding your muscles and stuff. Do you get people to train like that isometric holds and stuff before? Like, let's say you like you don't want to cramp up on stage or something. Oh, you're like, no,
Exactly.
you know what I mean?
Exactly that. Yeah, so once they've obviously learned the basics, we also do transitions. We also will add like sass and flair to their presentation, because it is about, say you're watching, right? If someone's standing there looking miserable, looking like they don't want to be there, you're not going to watch them. Right.
Yeah.
So you want to be able to basically present this almost fantasy that they want to enjoy watching.
Yeah.
So it's the whole time you're on that stage. It's like a RuPaul Drag Race face. You gotta just like walk on and put on that other personality.
Yeah.
So then yeah, once we've gone through those little things, I'll say to them, remember, you could do these rounds maybe 3-4 times. If it's a good lineup, which you want, if it's a good lineup, then they could be holding you there while they're like, I don't know, do you see any difference? So yeah, they will have to hold it to an extent.
And I guess was it something that kind of like kind of got you in that direction was because you were like a dancer at the start, and it kind of also it's fitness, but it's also a bit of that sort of dancing and that sort of thing. Is that what kind of made you go that direction? Or
you know what? I mean, without us getting too deep, I used to actually, I love sport when I was growing up. Like I used to actually play football for Wolves under 16s. I don't know if I should say that just because Wolves get a bit of stick. Wolverhampton Wanderers. Back over here. Anyway. So I used to do karate, I used to do netball, hockey, like anything at school, I was there. I just love it. I'm still pretty much like that now. If anyone's like, do you want to do something, or do you want to go play golf? It's just fun, isn't it? But then for some reason, I used to eat a hell of a lot. So I was very overweight as well, even though I did do sport. And when I was growing up, you know, at school, I wasn't necessarily, people weren't nice, you know. I want to say like a lot of people have the same experience. Yeah. If you're overweight, people love it. They latch on to that. Do you know what I mean? So I used to get bullied quite a bit for that. And then I remember I was about 15 and I think I was like, right, I've had enough. So I started going, I just went to a gym, but all I would do is like the legs, bums and tums class and cardio. I was literally, that was it. And I remember for my first prom, I actually was doing slim fast shakes.
Yeah, okay. Oh God.
Yeah, I know. When people talk about it, like talk about their journey and things like that, and like, oh, I don't know enough. And they're like, I've literally been like trying to work on my body and my mind and like my own, I guess, journey for 15 years. It's not something that just comes, you know.
For sure, I guess. I was just gonna say, I guess like it's kind of, I feel like a lot of people have that sort of same introduction, like that sort of like bullying or whatever it kind of is. But then when they first get into it, it's if you don't, well, that's one thing I wish I kind of did a bit more when I was, 17, 18, because I'm the same thing. I love sports. I love like the fact that, you can train to get jacked and have big muscles, or you can train to jump higher, or you can train to run a long way, kind of that, all that's always interests me. But I wish I kind of had when I was 17, 18, not because I was like, I want to lose weight. I'm just going to run 7 times a week. Barely, like maybe went to the gym once or twice, but it was like, well, if I had have known actually what I was doing, there was a much better way I could have gone about it. But it's all a part of the process it's all a part of the journey.
Say, like, never kind of, in my opinion, I say this a lot, like, I would never regret doing that for how many years that I did. Yes, it was probably a waste of time, but it taught me a lot still. Do you know what
Yeah,
I mean?
sure.
And I think so many people nowadays are trying to rush, like their first session in the gym, they're doing like 3-second pause in the stretch, dragging it down with a D handle. And you just like, just pull the weight first, like finish your GCSEs. That's more important. And then just like, I understand, obviously, there's levels to this training, but yeah, so and I lost a hell of a lot of weight, like way too much. Like there's this one photo that I always flashes in my head, and it was my 16th birthday. I was in like a bodycon skirt and a boob tube, going back in the day, and I was a stick.
Maybe eating like 600 calories a day or something crazy as well, wouldn't it? Like something.
Yeah. Pretty much. And I remember seeing it and being like, there's nothing to me. So that's when I started to try and introduce a bit of weights and things like that. And like I said, that was 10 years ago now. Then, so I used to like really slowly, I just introduced the gym a little bit more, but throughout uni and things like that, I was part of like societies, so dance, cheer, etc. So I didn't ever put the gym before those things. Like I used to go out 4 or 5 times a week because I had issues.
No, that's just fun. That's just good fun.
Yeah, well, I don't know. But I still trained here and there. Then basically, when I returned to the gym in my 3rd year, when I got a bit more structure, when I realized, right, Hannah, you need to buckle down here, else you're going to fail. So I used to revise to a certain time, then I'd train after. And it was the way to like stop my head thinking so I could sleep. Okay. So I used to do that, which I then carried on into my master's, which felt great to have that routine, to have a focus, and something that I did actually really enjoy. Trust me again when I say that my form was horrific. I didn't know what I was doing. I never had a coach. I was literally just like, oh, I'll do legs today. Let's go on every leg machine possible.
Yeah, like I can't walk for 6 days and
So then when there was a period of time in my master's around September, August, a very, very like dark time. A lot of things happened all at once. And I moved home. I finished my master's, but I just moved home back to the Midlands because that was in London. Moved back to the Midlands, and I was like, I just need to be selfish and just do something for me. I got a little part-time job at a pharmacy 3 days a week, and then I just got a coach, and I was like, right, let's just see what I can do here. When I got a coach, I was expecting to be not on stage until I got him in the March, and I wasn't expecting to get on stage until September, October, and he put me on stage in June. That's how lean I was.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
6
crazy.
weeks.
How long?
6 weeks.
6 weeks. And how was that? How was that kind of experience, that first experience?
I mean, so I got on stage. I absolutely loved it. I got 2nd place straight away in a good lineup as well. It wasn't like there was 2. And then 2 weeks later, I think I went again and I got 1st. And I was like, I could be all right. I could be all right at this. And to my like, I guess naivety, is that even a word? Yeah, I was naive. I didn't even realize that the competition that I was doing was actually an untested competition. So I was completely natural. Yeah. But there were people that I was against that weren't. So I mean, that felt great.
Yeah, for sure. That'd have been great. And I guess when was the transition from, all right, this is kind of, you've done your first show, Was it like, I love this, this is something I want to keep doing? Is that kind of how it all came about, or?
Yeah, I would say that I have got an addictive personality. Not necessarily in a bad way. Over the years, obviously, developed different things, and I do love that constant goal chasing, achieving mindset. Like, for me to be not necessarily even ticking things off, but being like, look at that growth right there.
Yeah.
Even if it's within myself, even if it's not a PB or a lift and things like that. And I think as soon as I did step off that stage, I could just see the progression, I guess, that I wanted for myself.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't look at myself and think, oh, girl, you're too big. I was literally like, you're so small, you could be so much bigger. Let's go. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
sure.
yeah, and I did stay. The coach that I had then is not the same coach that I've got now, and multiple reasons for
Yeah.
that. But he actually kept me lean from from that point until I got on stage in October. So
Oh,
my body was in bits, basically.
yeah, that's why I said.
I'm 5'8" and I was on stage at 51 kilo.
Oh god, that's crazy. Yeah, so there was no kind of I guess backtracking there. Just there was no kind of because obviously you don't want to be too lean for too long because it'll have some big detriments to your body. So is that, would you, if you had your time again, you'd probably come out of that, build some, like, take some time off, get a bit of, size about your hypertrophy, food, just make yourself feel better. Is that kind of?
Sort of. So when it comes to a season, people do similar things, but they do it better, which is just how it should have been. So me competing in the June, I should have then, or the coach should have then been like, right, we'll push up for a period of time. So I would put on maybe 5 kilo or something, and then maintain it just so I've got more food, etc. And then drop again to come back into it, instead of just maintaining the whole time, kind of push up to come back down. People do that. I personally don't. Simply because I do get very lean. That's almost like my USP. Like, as the amount of people that I have when I prep for a competition, they don't think that I'm natural, is because of how lean that I do get. But I'm literally like, look at the size of me. I'm so small. If I wasn't natural,
Yeah.
I'd need a refund.
For sure. And then I guess moving from that, what did you kind of learn, I guess, from that experience, and what did you take into the following? So let's say you've done the first two comps, and then you thought, okay, maybe there's a different way. What did you learn, and what did you take into the next time round?
Yeah, so those first competitions in June, I was in a category. I understand that these categories and words may be a bit like, okay, but I was in a category called toned figure.
Okay. Yep.
And then because I continued to kind of lose weight / get more condition until September, October, I then got moved to something called athletic figure. And I was on stage with women that I was in awe of. Like, so this athletic figure, they're bigger, leaner, etc.
Yeah.
As you can assume, I guess it's like a different ladder.
Yeah. Is there a weight? Are they weight limits, those ones, or they're
Not
just
for women?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So for some men categories, there'll be like weight caps and things like that. For women, it's just how you look, the look.
Yeah. Okay.
So I was on stage and I actually got 6th in the British finals in that step up category. And I was literally like, I was crying because I was so happy, because I was just like, how? And I looked at these ladies and I was like, this excites me, because I was significantly smaller than them. So I just thought, like, this is it now. I did leave the coach that I was with, just again, multitude of reasons. And I was like, right, I'm just gonna try and be healthy, get things back moving. However, I struggled very hard post-show, which you hear a lot. I ended up gaining a lot of weight very quickly, but I then got a new coach. So that was like October time. I got a new coach in the March, and
Okay.
I've been with him ever since. So that was March 2020.
Yeah. And so
So
that's awesome. And then since that time, I guess, was it because you felt so restricted moving from those two kind of, one in June, one September, October, whatever it was? Did you feel like you put the weight back on because you kind of felt like a release, like, oh, I can finally kind of, or was it just, because I know there's people talk about was it refeeding and all that sort of thing. I had a couple other bodybuilders on the show. But yeah, is that kind of what happened, or was there something else that were you just like, I need a break?
So I wish it was that. I
Yeah.
do, but I'll be honest, not many people are honest about it. It was when you're that lean, your ghrelin and leptin hormones get switched off.
Yeah.
The control you need for post show, the discipline you need is harder than prep.
Okay.
You've got to think it's almost like you've got this post show blues situation. People get depressed because it's like this build up for months and then it's gone, it's done.
Yeah.
So you've got that. You're so hungry, no matter how much you eat. I ate 6,000 calories in a sitting and I was still ready to carry on, but I couldn't because I was in pain, but I didn't feel full.
Yeah, weird. How crazy.
Yeah. So it's because of your body's, all these signalings are just messed up.
Yeah.
So I wish it was so much so that I was like, oh, I just want to get back to normal. Well, obviously a lot of my friends and family who supported me through that time, like they were like, let's go for meals. And I, again, being naive, not, I guess, just young within the whole process, I was like,
Sure.
yes, amazing. And I was going for meals almost like every other day because I was like, let's make memories again, because a lot of our society is so focused around food and drink.
Yeah.
But it just meant that I was overeating a lot.
Yeah.
I ended up getting into a bit of a binge purge cycle. And so I obviously, through the little things that I have mentioned through the podcast, like my relationship with food was probably one of the things that I didn't even realize that I had issues with all those years ago. But joining the coach that I did in that March 2020, he's helped me so much with that. And I've now got, I don't think it'll ever be like cured. I don't think anyone's relationship with food ever is. I think it's always like touch and go at times. However, my relationship with food now is so good, that so much so that I can now eat, and if I'm full I stop, which I know sounds silly, but that doesn't happen even with the general public. You'll see the general public that smash food and they'll carry on. Even it's one of those, isn't it? It's just like classed as normal.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think that's the thing. Like, why I like doing these podcasts and that sort of thing, because the other bodybuilders had a similar story. And if there's someone who wants to go into it, they listen to this, they can be now like, okay, I might have to. Obviously, the lead up is important, but post is something I can. And that's kind of why I like talking to people and people. Yeah, so that's awesome. And then moving towards kind of your training over the last, so from 2020 you had one, so how many comps have you had since the new coach, and then what's been the focus?
So I got that coach in the March 2020. COVID hit. Are we allowed to say that, or are we going to get blocked?
Who knows? Okay, yeah. Goodness me.
The C word hit. So I actually ended up changing. So I bought my own flat and I turned my second bedroom into a gym. I say that sounds so bougie. I literally had a bar and plates and a bench. That's it. But I made sure, when I tell you I did not miss a session, I did not miss a session.
Yeah.
Like I was so focused because I live on my own, and COVID was a difficult time. Fortunately for me, fortunately in one sense, unfortunately in the other, I worked the whole time because obviously cancer doesn't stop for COVID. So I was still in the lab. So my routine was still there. However, it was still very isolating. Like I couldn't meet anyone from outside of work and things like that. So I turned that second bedroom into a gym. And so my training obviously was quite different. Back to basics, squats, deadlifts, etc., bench press. But that actually gave me the opportunity to relearn a lot of movements. And it helped my training a hell of a lot, because before this coach that I do have now, he's basically taught me how to train, because
Yeah.
even though I've been training 10 years or whatever, it was very much just like move
Yeah.
it, move the weight.
Okay.
Whereas now, like, time and attention, etc. And like I said, there is levels.
For
Like
sure.
I didn't need to learn that 10 years ago,
No.
but learning it now has definitely just massively improved how much I love training, for one, but also obviously visually my physique. And now, so I stepped back on stage in 2021. I did 4 shows in 2021. So when it does come to, I was talking about the condition that I do bring, not a lot of federations like that for a female.
Okay.
So it either goes with, I get on stage, they hate it, they put me last, or I get on stage, they like it, and they're like, yeah. So I stepped on stage, 4 times, I think it was. And one of the federations, I went for a higher category, but they said that they didn't want to place me there, but they invited me to the finals for another category.
Okay.
Went to those finals, I got 4th. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not a sore loser.
Dodgy. I'm calling it dodgy. I know. I'm calling it dodgy.
Yeah, I look at the photos and I genuinely think, I don't know. I really enjoyed the physique that I bought.
Yeah.
And that's what matters, right? And then I did the WMBF British show, placed first there, got best presentation award for that as well. And then they invited me to Las Vegas, but like I said, I couldn't go. But that's going to be like the main focus this year. I've already kind of booked the time off work. I'm going to Las Vegas. It's happening.
So are you able to go to let's say you missed a year, can you just go the following year, or do you have to go through the whole process again?
You have to qualify again. I'm just being presumptuous, and I'm just saying that I'm going to win.
No, that's good. Worst case, you got a holiday in Vegas,
Yeah, literally. But then since stepping on the stage there, obviously the gym's opened again, things like that. So I've been able to really focus on my training. So I'm really excited for this season, to be honest, because I always take over a year off. Yeah. So this will only be my 3rd season, even though I've been in the game like 4 or 5 years. Because for me personally, I actually push my body weight up very high for most. Yeah. So my peak body weight this off season was 83 kilos.
5'6"?
5'8".
5'8". Sorry, I've cost you. I've shorted you 2 inches. Okay.
My body comp was still there, so it's different. It's not that I'm pushing up for the sake of it. I'm pushing up because as a natural athlete, the only fuel you've got is sleep and food, right? Yeah. So my training now is, I'm gonna bracket them into like push-pull legs, but they are different and they are more specialized. For example, my push is like chest, delt, arms, etc., things like that. But I now run a push, pull, rest, legs, rest split.
Okay.
So I really needed to bring up my upper, and my quads kind of took the limelight. So my upper now, I feel like this is going to be the first season that I've actually got a respectable upper. Like I look like a balanced athlete instead of it just being, hello, here's a leg.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess there's a few things I wanted to touch on. I'll start with the training you're doing now. Is it like, let's say you've got obviously, I guess you wanted to improve your upper body. Does it go from, how do you kind of, obviously you want to keep your legs how they are and like improve your legs as well, but you're obviously focusing on the upper body. How does that does that go into the program, or do you double up on the upper body and keep it to one set of legs a week, or how does it kind of work in regards to that?
So there was no, like, if you looked at my physique when I came off stage, there was no way you could look at me and think, oh, don't get too big. I literally looked like a string bean. So I just needed overall mass everywhere, fortunately. And I do say fortunately for that reason, because I couldn't think of anything worse than being like, I can't train this body part. Like that, if that ever happened to me, I don't think I'd compete, because I love training, and the reason why I compete is because I love training. I don't train because I love competing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So for me, again, the focus that I have had on that execution has lifted my physique just unbelievably. So my coach is Kuba Chelin. So I don't know if you follow him, IFBB Pro. So he's like very focused on that. Some people think a bit too much, but yeah, people will always have an opinion, right? But yeah, so with regards to my legs, obviously I only train them once every 5 days.
Yep.
However, when I say I take them there, like, I ensure that those sessions, because they're once every 5 days, I ensure that they are taken the whole way. Like I don't leave reps in reserve. I don't train like that.
Okay.
And that's not me trying to sound like a big man. That's just how I like to train. For example, I trained with one of my good friends 2 weeks ago, and her physique she's gonna do incredible things. And she said to me, bear in mind, she's way more, like, she's been training for so much longer and way more like educated, etc. And she went, every time I think you're gonna finish your set and that's your last rep, you do 3 more. And I'm like, yeah, because I'm very much like, you see the weight go like this, it moves that slow, and I'm like, so yeah, my focus for my legs, like I said, my quads are pretty much okay. So I do have quite a lot of like hamstring and glute focus, but I also incorporate the quads as well. Like, but my main lifts for legs at the minute, I've got like RDLs in there, leg press, pendulum, which is my favorite because I'm so long. But for the weaker areas, for example, so my arms, right, when I say they're longer than my height, that's like clinically not okay. And yeah, so I've actually had to build them and focus on those. So my arms I have at the end of push and pull.
Yeah.
So that's how I program that. Because at the end of the day, you can kind of fatigue arms much more than you would legs.
Sure.
Like I wouldn't be able to put a leg press set on the end of a push day, because my CNS would be like, no sir. Whereas arms, you can push through that mentally and physically. So yeah, with regards to, I guess, how many sets and things like that I do, I tend to run a top set back off for most things, especially like my core exercises. Some exercises, for example, so I do back squats. So that's a top set and back off. But then, for example, my RDLs, I run 1 set. So I will warm up to that weight.
Yeah.
And then I do 1 set all out.
Okay.
But then things like arms, I'll do like 3 sets of maybe 10 to 15.
Yeah.
So they are programmed in the way that there's certain exercises, like I said, that I can really lock in on, and I can take to, the limit, so to speak. But then obviously there's some exercises that even if you take it all the way there with a bicep curl, it's still you're not gonna fatigue too much.
That's awesome. So I guess when you're doing the top set, how do you like progressive, I guess, overload that? And then when do you kind of take do you deload? Like how often are you deloading and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, so when I say my coach literally tells me into shit, like, like I actually would say that I'm a pretty good client. I literally, whatever he says, I do. You know what I mean? I don't, most of the time I barely even question it. And if I question it, it's more out of interest, not being like, yeah, but I'm there like, tell me why. So yeah, I do deload, but we take it as it comes, but it does tend to be every 6 to 7 weeks. Currently on I'm actually going to the gym for the first time since last Wednesday today. So I am on it. I'm very excited.
The last week.
Push, which is my favorite. Yeah, so Wednesday last week, basically I'm on a mini cut right now.
Yep.
So my calories are low, so my recovery is obviously going to be a little bit lower. So deload came a little bit earlier this time round. It's just how it is. I have very clear signs when I need a deload. And
what are those signs? Is it mentally, physically?
oh my God, yeah. So my sleep just, I go from sleeping, I wouldn't say I sleep unbelievably well, but as soon as I am asleep, I'm pretty much like there for the night, right? I don't really have a disrupted sleep, but when I need a deload, I'll be waking up like 3-4 times in the night. My digestion is like off, even though I'm on low calories right now. I would just feel like not hungry. Or like it just feels like it's sitting very strange. And then when I say my sessions are bad, so the last session that I did, I regressed on absolutely everything, and I sat there and almost cried because I get really emotional as well. And I literally sit there and I'm like, probably should have done a deload. Probably shouldn't be here. Because you do know like, the days leading up to it, like you're not there like, oh, I feel fine, but you're there like, I probably need a deload sometime soon. And then you do that last session and you're like, why did I come here?
Well, that's good. I think that's, but then it's good because you get that, you're there and you kind of, I feel you're in the gym, you're still going, but you know, I feel like once you kind of, you're at that point and said, I should have deloaded 2 days ago, then you're like, all right, now I know this is it. I can deload. And then it's that mental refreshener too, then, because then you come back that following week or however long you do it. And yeah, you're like excited to get to the gym. And during those deload weeks, I asked someone else this, and I'm kind of like, I don't really know what the best strategy is. Do you keep going to the gym and just like chilling, like doing hardly anything, or you just kind of stop doing anything? No,
I don't personally think there's a right way.
Yeah,
I think it depends on your lifestyle. At the end of the day, say you are a bodybuilder full time. If going to the gym is like the only thing that's in your routine that gets you out the house, not trying to make it sound sad because it's not, but what I mean is like, at the end of the day, if your friends, etc., are at that gym, then I would say carry on going, right? However, with the fact that I've got like 2 jobs, now the dog, I like, yeah, I do have a lot outside of work. Outside of the gym, sorry. So I personally, because I very much struggle with also just being like, okay, I'll go to the gym and I'll not do anything. I would personally struggle to do that. So I actually take 3 or 4 days off completely.
Yep.
And then the next couple of sessions I do take it as it comes, but these 2 sessions at least will be D volume, which is 50% of the volume. So I still take it to like that point. However, it's 50% of the volume, so there's going to be less fatigue on the body in overall.
Okay.
Like I said,
you're still grinding to the end of. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, so 4 days off, then 2 sessions back, 50% volume minimum, and then I take it as it comes. So if I get to, I've done the pull day, so tomorrow's session, and I'm like, that feels better, but I'm definitely not fully there, then I'll take another D volume on the next session, etc., etc. Or if I do, say I get into the gym today and I'm literally like, nah, I'm still a mess, then I'll take another day off.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So,
awesome.
And I'm not, I don't want to say I'm not dumb about it, but at the end of the day, if I go into the gym and I feel that I'm still fucked and I carry on pushing myself, you are literally only hindering your progress because you're actually just making this sensation, this feeling and this deload needed like even longer. So you need to just take that time off if you need it off so that you can come back and just batter it.
For sure. And then I'm always kind of thinking about deload's kind of something I always kind of think about because I'm obviously when you come back, do you feel like when you come back to a deload, that next session, no matter what you do, you're sorer than what you were, let's say halfway through the previous, let's say you're 3 weeks into a block, then and you're doing your sessions, and you kind of just keep doing your sessions those 3 weeks. After you deload, do you feel like your body gets sorer and you've got more DOMs following a deload, or is it pretty similar for you the whole way through?
So I wouldn't say that I do get like an ache, like, but I wouldn't say that I get necessarily DOMs.
Yeah.
Like, it's difficult to say. I've literally been running the same training program for 27 weeks.
Okay.
Like, for like if it's not broke, don't fix it. Like, if it's running, if it's progressing, you don't need to change it. Right.
Sure.
So when I come back after a deload, because I'm doing the 50% volume, in all honesty, you finish that session, you should finish that session feeling like I could do more.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So I would say, actually, going back, you probably wouldn't really get much muscle soreness because it's 50% of the session.
I like that kind of like runway, like I don't know how you describe it, but that runway on. So take a few days off and then kind of go 50% volume and then you're banging. I feel like that's actually I'm going to give that a go, because I'm always I'm always so sore after my the next day. I'm like, what have I done?
You think about it, if you've literally, like, even Gen Pop, like, this is no shade at all, because I've been helping my mom. She's 53 and she's actually like really improving her health over the past 3 years by like getting more active, etc. And I said to her, she was like, oh, I'm so sore. I was like, well, yeah, because you're taking, say, a week off between each session. So your body's literally, every single time, your body's going to be like,
what the hell? Yeah, for sure.
You are taking that period of time off, you almost do need that little segue, like that little bit of ease into it.
Yeah.
So that your body is like almost mentally ready for it too.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And then a couple of things, a few things I wanted to touch on with your like nutrition and that sort of thing. Can you kind of break down just a little bit of like how you structure kind of when you're putting on weight to when you're in a maintenance and when you're in a deficit, just to kind of maybe educate a few of the, because I feel like that's kind of one thing we haven't touched on stacks in the podcast is the difference, and just not getting full technical, but just a little bit of kind of what we're doing and protein intake, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. So I would say that I'm not like a special case, but I do go all in pretty much. You don't have to go this hard, basically, because I pushed up. I was in a surplus for 12 months.
Yep.
And the reason for that was, like I said, I got off stage and I was like, girl, you need to grow. Yeah. And again, as a natural, if you're constantly going in a surplus deficit, that period of time you're in a deficit, it's a waste of time. Like, unless you need to be in a deficit. The reason why I've had to start this mini cut that I'm doing right now is I was on 4,200 calories a day. And I started, bear in mind, I was eating that fine initially, but then I started to throw up after every meal. Oh, okay. So my body got to a point where it was like, I can't push anymore.
Yeah, for sure.
So, right, it was like, right, okay, I need to just resensitize, get hungry again, and then we can push back up. So, yeah, got off stage at 58 kilo, and then I pushed all the way up to 83 kilo. In a very slow manner. So protein, you depending on your activities, like 1.5, 2 grams per pound, right? Carbs, I usually do not change my carbs from, my pre and post training.
Yep.
For example, peak off season, it's exactly the same right now. So I changed my carbs, like my other foods. So yes, I was on 4,200. I'm now on, I think training day, I'm on 1,900 right now.
Okay.
And my carbs pre and post have not changed.
Okay. So you're taking them from protein, taking them from fats. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Because to me, that's my priority.
Yeah.
So it's depending on your lifestyle and things like that. So I actually train before work. So I wake up and I eat, I then train, I go to work and I eat like my post at work. And then because I'm in the lab and I'm so busy, I won't lie, I don't really think about it. A lot of people can't eat that early in the morning. right? I honestly would say though, being in a surplus for as long as possible is just the best way for hypertrophy, right? So
And how many? Sorry, just roughly, how many calories over your maintenance would you recommend roughly? Like, because there'd probably be a point where it's just ridiculous. You know what I mean? You know, or no.
I would say you just want to take it by increments.
Yeah.
Because again, not a lot of, like, I was loving eating that much food, but some people find it very uncomfortable to eat that much food. So you do have to take it as, number one, how serious you want to be, as in, if you're not wanting to be a competitive bodybuilder and you just want to gain some tissue,
Yeah.
you don't have to push that high, right? Like, I obviously got to a point where I didn't fit in any clothes, but
On the shop.
right, to me, it's not really a priority. Like, I just wear baggy clothes, that's fine.
I was gonna say, what is that top you've got on? It's not bad.
Oh, thank you. Yes, so it's mine.
Oh, is that yours?
Yeah,
Oh, no.
posing with Hannah. So I've got clients after this. So
Yeah.
the back, you ready for this? The back's even better. Wait. Oh my God.
Well, I can turn around a bit more.
Yeah,
What is it?
that's the what?
I can't see it. Keep turning. Oh yeah, that's better. Oh yeah. What's it say?
Yeah.
I just can't see what it says. What does it say?
Posing with Hannah.
Oh, nice. Yeah. And it says, yeah, cool. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, well, there you go. Just a little plug for you.
I just knocked the dog's advent calendar off, and she's anyway. So sorry. So, how many calories to go in a surplus? That sort of thing.
Yeah.
I would say take those increments. Obviously, you need to be able to make sure, which I think the biggest thing for females is that they think low fat is the best way. You need dietary fats in order to be healthy. Fats are what help with your hormonal health, cognitive function. So like 60 gram of fat, something around that, is very important. And then obviously you've got your, like I said, protein there, and then your carbs. So many people say like they're carb sensitive. A lot of the time you're choosing the wrong sources. So for example, obviously I was eating a lot of food. I could have easily turned to bagels, etc. Bagels don't digest well for me. Bread is not bad. Bread is not bad. I'm not saying it's bad, but bagels, etc., do not digest well for me. I literally eat it and I feel it here, and I'm like, that was nice, but I feel it. So for me, rice products just digest so well. So yes, it's more volume, but I didn't mind that either because I love eating.
Yeah.
So there is. I don't want to go in too much because there definitely is a science to it. Right?
Yeah, no, for sure.
And it's so difficult when you don't know anything about the other person.
Yeah, and it was just good to kind of get a and what's the split just for people out there just they're kind of new to it? It's, what is it, 449? Is that the 4 grams? Is it 1 gram of proteins, 4 calories? Is that kind of how it works?
Yeah, so protein and carbs are 4 calories per gram, and then fat is 9 calories. But again, that doesn't mean fat is bad, because so many people run away from fat.
Yeah.
And it's strange because if you start to implement more protein in your diet, you'll be more satiated. If you get more protein, more fat, your body comp will probably change drastically. You're probably going to be eating more and your body comp will improve because you're not just picking at shit.
Yeah, nah, for sure. No, it's awesome. And it's good just to have a little bit of a bit of nutrition on there. Like, obviously everyone's not going to do count their macros every day and that sort of thing, but it's good to have a little bit of awareness of what you're eating and that sort of thing.
I think it's, again, this is something that's taken me how many years to learn, and because I've been training, like I said, maybe 10 years, right? I still look small. But this is something that I have just picked up over time. And I do think a lot of people think they need to know everything now.
Yeah.
And they don't.
No.
But the best thing that I ever did was to invest in a coach. if it's something that does actually interest you, investing in a coach, and I'm saying invest because it's not a payment, because you are learning so much if it's the right coach.
For sure.
Also, I actually did a little diploma for myself. So while I was doing my master's, I did a nutrition diploma because I wanted to learn more, because I was interested. So like there's so many things out there. There's so many sources of information, even like athlete logs and blogs. So Natural Bodybuilding Worldwide, trained by JP. Those are very bodybuilder focused forums, but there's so much information on there. Yeah.
Well, that kind of leads into the couple of questions before we say goodbye. So if you could choose 3, well, you can do. It was 5, but I reduced it to 3. But you can do 5 to people that either train with or pose with or whatever. What would you? Who would they be? Those people? Anyone, dead or alive? You can choose.
I mean, so I've actually met Dorian Yates like 3 times. And the last time I met him, he said to me, I just can't not think about this. He was like, Hannah, I just love your energy. And I was like, oh my God, be my dad, please.
He's what's he, 4 or 5-time champ, isn't he?
Oh yeah, something mad. And he is such a good, like, I believe, and what I see from him, he's such a good person.
Yeah.
So I would love to do something with him. I think he's obviously incredible. And then I'm gonna actually have to go to like C-Bum, so the classic physique competitor. Just because of his posing, like his presence, that is just fantastic. In terms of training, I think you have to choose Ronnie Coleman, actually. Well, yeah. As you can see as well, I do choose most men.
Yeah. Have you the videos of him with Larry Wheels? You seen those ones where he's yelling at Larry Wheels? They're so funny. I love him too. He's great. No, that's good. And then well, there's 2. Did you want one more, or did you want to answer?
Wait, that was 3.
Who was who was the second? I missed the second.
C-Bum.
Who?
He's called C-Bum.
Oh, I thought you said I had no idea what C-Bomb meant.
Do you want me to send you his profile?
Send me his link. That'd be good. And then whilst you're doing that, here's a question that I probably should have let you know beforehand, but as a podcast and we started up, I saw this from All the Smoke. I give him a shout out every time. There's these 2 basketball players that run a podcast. But so who do you think would be great guest for the podcast? But whoever you say, you have to get them on.
I see why this happened now.
That's what happened. So whoever you say, you have to try and get them on too. Obviously, I'm not forcing you to get them on, but you send them a message and say that I'm going to hit them up on the Instagram.
Someone that like does come across very well and things like that. Obviously, just because there's obviously incredible athletes, but that doesn't mean that they necessarily are able to speak well. Do you know what I mean? Like, so they could sit here and be like, yeah, I go gym. Oh my gosh.
10 seconds. No.
You know what? One of my best friends, she's a pro athlete. She's just gone out to Texas and just won, and then got second in the pro show. Georgie Cooper. She actually has a podcast herself. She's an unbelievable businesswoman, entrepreneur, and athlete. So Georgie Cooper.
I'll be slide into the DMs very soon. So
__ Georgie Fit, I think.
No, all good. But no, thank you so much for that. Did you have anything you want to say before we wrap up?
I guess if anyone wants to ask any questions from anything that I've spoken about today, I mean, about training, about like my work, things like that, or even if you wanted to inquire about posing, I do have my pages on Instagram, so _ Hannah's Health, and then my posing page is Posing with Hannah.
For sure. That's awesome. I'll make sure I chuck all those up on when we like put them on the Spotify and YouTube and all that. So they'll be all there. So make sure you click those. But there we go. Thanks so much for coming on, Hannah. Great chat. But everyone listening, hope you enjoyed it. Hope you had some good takeaways from the video and from the session. It was very informative. I thought it was really, really good. So thanks everyone. We'll see you next time.